In this episode, we're talking about a Diablo-inspired spin on some Dead Cells-style gameplay. It's Dragon is Dead. This and more on Indie Game Arcade. Welcome everyone to Indie Game Arcade, a podcast that deep dives into the latest and greatest indie games. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And I'm faking this energy right now. I'm so tired.
You sound a little sick there.
Yeah, well, I'm just stuffed up a little bit because it's like allergy season, which is true. All year for me. But but we've had the windows open, which is a bad idea for me, I guess, because now my nose doesn't work. So yeah, it's gonna you're gonna hear a lot of like today. So apologizing for that ahead of time.
Sniffling.
Yeah, I'll edit out my sniffles, and hopefully mixer's all fixed. Hopefully your audio's all fixed. We've had technical difficulties the last couple weeks. We might still have one or two. Hopefully not, but we'll see.
Game start!
So Dragon is Dead was released June 6, 2025, developed by Team Sunit? I'm not sure. Published by PM Studios, retails for $19.99. For a short description, this is a 2D hack-and-slash action platformer with roguelike elements. You play as a resurrected successor on a mission to stop Gwyrnian, someone, the last Dark Dragon, from corrupting the realm. So this was a game that I haven't played at all. This was a Joseph pick that you brought forward this week. So tell me all about Dragon is Dead.
It's a 2D action platformer with a lot of like Castlevania and or Dead Cells sort of feel to it. It's a roguelike it works in a similar way, but you're kind of progressing a story as you're going through. So it's not just like, you beat a part and you rinse and repeat. It feels like there is actual progression being made during the run. I've only done 2 runs of it. My second run was like so good though. I thought I was going to finish the game. I got to the like last 4 kind of like bosses, I guess, like the ultimate bosses that are at the end of this like pathway you're following upward. So it's not like you have multiple choices. There's not like different options as far as the paths that you're taking. You are going up a single sort of like linear path, but the variety comes in the build that you make as you go through, because you're collecting this armor in a very Diablo-like way that has like different rarities and different stats on it that can benefit one thing or another. I didn't even realize you could choose between different classes, but I guess like after you finish a certain portion of it, you can. So I just played through as like the initial guy who's like this knight kind of magic user dude. But then I saw there's also a berserker and then sort of a ranger sort of like person that you can choose as well. So maybe that's like part of the I don't think that's something you have a choice of initially, but I guess whatever I progressed in that second run I did also allowed me to play as these classes. So, yeah.
How Castlevania-ish does it feel? Like, is it a Metroidvania or is it more linear in that way? Like you're just going like through the level?
Well, yeah, it's definitely more linear. So it's not a Metroidvania per se. Okay. There's not even like movement or grappling kind of stuff that you have. The challenge is like overcoming like the obstacles of combat. It kind of like sections you off in an area, and then you have to beat all the enemies in this area. And then it's like, okay, enemies are wiped out of here. So now you get your chest that you're picking, like which chest you want. And that's where the sort of roguelike options come in. So
Yeah.
And as you open these chests, like let's say it's the one with the artifacts in it, like you'll open that and then 3 artifacts will show up and then you choose between which artifact you want. And so that's where that sort of variety starts coming in, is because you're like, okay, well, so in the artifacts, like, let me break this down a little bit more, because this is like what was like a really unique part of it that I really appreciated. So, how there are like armor sets that have bonuses added to it in a lot of games where it's like, okay, I have 3 pieces of this armor set, so I get this kind of bonus.
Love that.
Yeah, me too. And so this is like the way that items or artifacts work in this is they each have 2 sort of traits applied to them. And those traits are what are your sort of armor set matches. So it's like one, they might have fire and then also, let's say, I don't know, arcane or something on it, or fire and like assassination. And then it's like, okay, well, let me see like how many pieces of this fire set do I need to benefit if I'm using fire as my like main element, and what an assassination I think like adds to my crit chance and like different sort of things as you get more of those assassination traits. And so it's like, okay, now I need to see if I can find items that also have that trait attached to them, or artifacts that have that trait attached to them, so that I can start to really benefit from that set bonus. And so that's where I found like a lot of like kind of fun build crafting in this, because, I was using fire as my main thing. That's why it's fresh in my mind. Then my secondary one was like this food one, where it's like it gave me more health. It helped me like at the end of it, like I had like 5 pieces that had that like food spec in it. So I was able to like regen a little bit up to a certain point. And so, and also the items themselves or the artifacts themselves have their own different stats. So it's like, okay, I have to decide if I want to forego this legendary item, like this gold item, for this like common one, because the common one has the traits that I need, but the legendary one has these really cool base traits in itself, even though it doesn't have matching like the matching abilities to my set. So you can only have, I can't remember exactly, I think 9 equipped at the same time. So you have to start like picking and choosing what gets to stay, what has to go, if you want to fully benefit from that armor set or from that set bonus, or if you want to just like look at it artifact by artifact and then say like, okay, I really like what this artifact does, so I don't want to get rid of it, but I also really love what this fire set bonus does, so I really want more fire stuff, so I need to like kick something else out to make room for other fire stuff. So that's where it starts to get really intricate in that. And I had a lot of like fun, even in my first like couple runs, just trying to like figure out like how to optimize my character as I was progressing. Yeah.
And I'm looking at like the inventory screen and stuff, and it does remind me a whole lot of like Diablo 2 or something, with the item slots and everything, and your gear bag, and you've got like, it's like a grid within the item bag where you've got to put your items and stuff in there, and your weapons and stuff that you pick up. So it's like too, like you can't just pick up everything. It looks like you got to be selective about like what you're even picking up in the dungeon. Is that right?
Yeah, you need to be kind of selective. Like there are certain points where you can, like in between sections after you beat a boss, you'll like go to town essentially, or like go to like your kind of in between town, so that it lets you it lets you sell your items that you don't need and whatnot. Or at a certain point, like you'll probably just start to like trash the common items because they don't have like anything like beneficial to you. And between runs, you actually are able to keep your items, which is kind of unique to this. So the items stay, but you lose all your gold, and then your skill tree resets. So you lose your abilities and your gold that you have, but you keep the items that you have. So that's cool. Yeah, that's a huge bonus, but it's also like, I'm not sure how I feel about that exactly yet, being so early into the thing, because I'm like, okay, I had that great fire run, but I don't want to be constricted to just this fire run the whole time. And a lot of my items are centered around that. So it's like, do I want to just like not scrap these items, but like put them in like the chest that's inside of the, my home base, so that they are still there if I want to try fire again, because I don't want to do fire every single run, even though these items are kind of beneficial towards that. So where I'm torn, I guess, is that I don't want to be like just stuck in a certain type of build because I have like really good items that are never going to go away that are specifically around that build. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What happens when you die? Do you lose everything then?
Not your items. You lose your ability. So there's a skill tree that you're also building out as you go through. So you lose all of those skills and skill points. That resets. And then I don't think you lose your gold you do lose all your gold. You don't lose like your spirit points or whatever, which are used a different like currency that you're using at your base. So you're losing some things, but not your items, which is like the core of what a lot of your stuff is going to center around. And some of the items are like really good, like legendary stuff. So it's like, it's hard for me to say like, oh, I don't want to bring this legendary item on this next run because I want to start fresh or whatever. But then, I just haven't done more runs after that really good second one I had. So I don't know what that feels like as it progresses. But there is specifically a chest back at your home base so you can be like, okay, let me put this item away. And then like, I'll just try for a completely fresh run this next time or something. And I'm sure there's items that I will bring on the next one just because it's like good general kind of base stat boost that they're giving instead of just like very specific to fire or whatever the case is. So yeah, it's a system that I don't know if I like it yet, but it's interesting because it's definitely different where you're keeping items versus most roguelikes where you're just losing everything and resetting.
Yeah, that's what surprises me about this. Like I would assume you would lose everything, start over, at least lose everything on you, maybe keep everything that's back in your chest. But it sounds like, even whatever's on you stays. So yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about that either. That almost feels like maybe not punishing enough. But then again, the whole goal of the game maybe wasn't to be like, well, that would be just, a straight up roguelike and stuff. And maybe that, that's not what this game is. It just has some roguelike elements to it.
Yeah, it's touted as a roguelike and it has a sort of thing where your character is called like the successor. And at least your first character is. And so like, that's what you're sort of doing is succeeding the people who came before you trying to beat this ultimate evil. And you will run into some of those other successors later in the game who had tried previously or have been doing that for a long time and have retired for one reason or another from that profession. But you're with that, you also have the sort of gift of like immortality, I guess, in that which is how they explain the roguelike aspect of it, which is like, here's how I'm always coming back every time. Here's how I'm constantly resurrecting. And what I liked was hearing some stories from other successors where they're like, it just like, I just couldn't do it anymore. Like it became just maddening having to just resurrect and try this over and over again. And I lost the will to fight. And then with that, I also am opening myself up to being possessed by a demon because of my will to live is no longer there, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a really interesting like lore attached to that just to explain like, here's why I'm resurrecting and it's a roguelike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the art. I think it's, go ahead.
I was about to bring up the art. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to say like the art is just like stupendous. Like it's beautiful pixel art. It looks so good. And like, especially the still scenes when you're seeing something like either have like its death scene or when it first is like appearing like a boss or something. It's just so like spectacularly done. And it was just, I just loved watching it happen as I was going through. And you can even see in some of the stills, like it all just looks so great. The backgrounds, especially.
Kind of reminds me of Blasphemous.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Very, very similar style as that. But I think this looks slightly less dark than Blasphemous is. But, not by much, though. It's a pretty dark looking game. But
yeah. It's not maybe as grim as Blasphemous, but it's pretty grim.
It's grim. Yeah. It'll happen. It'll be grim. Yeah, it looks like a cool game, man.
Yeah, I think that's one that you would enjoy. Like, I don't think it's like a hyper difficulty level. It's not Hell Knight level or anything crazy like that. If you enjoyed Dead Cells, did you play Dead Cells much? I don't remember if you had jumped into that.
No, I never really tried it.
Well, yeah, Dead Cells would be the closest comparison I would have to it, just because that is like an action roguelike in this manner. But like, no, I think you'd like it. And like the story of it's so cool. Like the lore of it, I think is really enticing. So I think that would grab you if nothing else. There were periods of time when I was going through this where I was questioning how they were laying out some of the bosses and stuff, because I was like, this feels too easy. Like it'll have like 3 different moves and they're all kind of on a different sort of repeat. And it's like, okay, once I've telegraphed those moves and it's fine. And then like the first couple bosses were like that. And I was like, is the whole game going to be like this sort of like easy to predict and whatnot? And then like, as I started thinking that, the boss that I was fighting had a second form. So I'm like, okay, cool. So this is where it starts to really come in. And then like the more I'm progressing through it and like fighting different bosses, it's like, okay, they're getting harder and harder and a little bit more complex and tougher to predict. So I'm like, all right, well, they answered my question and they like really made me respect how they had the difficulty sort of build versus just having every boss have some kind of crazy patterns and 2 forms and whatnot. It progresses as you go. So it's like the bosses are going to get harder and harder, as they should, but they don't all have 2 forms. It starts as fairly predictable patterns and then turns into something where it's like, okay, it's getting more complex as I go through. So I really need to kind of like lock in and pay attention.
I do appreciate when you're like, the first few just seemed too easy. And I'm like, okay, so maybe there's a chance.
Maybe
I've got a chance.
But you'll still feel good about it because they look so cool and epic that you're like, man, I can't believe I like beat this boss. And then the next one will come and be like, okay, well, now I was put in my place.
Yeah. I got to try it. Maybe I'll do a recording or something of it.
Definitely give it a shot
for giggles.
Yeah, I would love to. Like, I would watch a playthrough of you playing through it, just because I would want to see like what choices you make.
Yeah, and then see me, flounder and be like, oh no.
Or succeed.
What have I done? What have I gotten myself into? Yeah, probably not, but who knows?
Power up!
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do us a favor, throw us a like, a follow, share the episode or the podcast with folks who love indie games so we can get more of these game recommendations out there and support indie devs. We also have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/nerdsloth where you can catch us playing more indie games or check out our top 5 and top 10 series for even more indie game recommendations, because we believe there's an indie game out there for everyone.
Combo!
Let's talk about some other indie games we've been playing this week. Here's one that has got its hooks in me. This is a game that I almost brought to the show when it originally came out, but I just never got around to playing it. But I'll go ahead and warn you now. This ain't a Joseph game. This is
okay.
This is the Roottrees Are Dead. So this was first of all, this is a genealogical detective game set in 1998, where you use like an in-game retro web interface to research and reconstruct the Roottree family tree after a tragic plane crash. So it's like basically this famous kind of family, this guy who's the head of like a big like candy company, like Hershey level, right? And his daughters, which are like, let's say Olsen twin level famous or something, right? But they all get killed in a plane crash. But this guy's family, like his extended family, is massive. And they've been in the public eye for decades and decades. Someone comes to you and is just basically like, hey, you're like one of the best like genealogical experts out there. We need to figure out who the real true heir is for the fortune, essentially. Like who's in charge, who gets the money, etc. And as you're playing this thing, you're finding all kinds of family secrets as you're like trying to research and learn about people. And it gets difficult too, because people's names are changed and, you got to deal with the maiden name thing. It's a lot like if you've ever tried to research an actual family tree, like your own, you run into a lot of the same problems, but then also you might run into like, secret children and secret other families. And, maybe some of your family might have killed someone else in the family that you're starting to piece together. And it's just really interesting, like this huge web that you're kind of like combing through, pulling strings and seeing, what unravels and what that reveals. It's really interesting. So it's something that I'm really, really into. This was originally created by Jeremy Johnston and released on itch.io he did it for a global game jam in 2023, but they remastered it and made like a remastered full version that released January 15th of this year, 2025, developed by Evil Trout and in collaboration with the original creator, Jeremy Johnston. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving this. There's so many mysteries within this, lots of family drama to be found and discovered. So really interesting. I'm big into it. I know a lot of people when it first came out were streaming this and making video content of it. And I'm like, oh, I kind of want to, but it's like, I've missed the boat on that one. So I'm just playing it. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, it looks like it's got overwhelmingly positive reviews at least. So even if it's not a me game, it seems like it's a good one of these.
Yeah, it's very good. And like the icing on the cake too is because this is supposed to be set in 98. When you connect to like the internet to like do your research, it does do the old school dial-up thing, and that's just kind of funny. Cool. The whole noise and everything. But yeah, it's fun, man. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
What about you? You've been playing some stuff.
I will start with I'll say Rungore is the one that has been sort of, because I've had it for a few days after I found out, or at least a couple weeks after I found out that it existed. Do you remember what game we were playing that like led us to that led us down that path to find Rungore?
It's one of the ones from last week. It might have been Shuffle Tactics, but I'm not. No, I don't know. It was something.
Yeah,
it was some game.
It sure was. So Rungore is one that so it's a deck.
Become the Moon.
Okay, yes, because it was like the same developer or publisher or something, right? Something like that.
Publisher.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is a deck building roguelike game, but one that is much different than any I've ever played before because it is like a real-time sort of side-scrolling auto run deal. So your character, you're initially starting as this knight character, but there's a variety to choose from once you unlock them. You just start running, but you're getting all these cards as you're going through each section of the run, and like it gets very ridiculous. The game is sort of like self-aware in a way that it's kind of joking. It's sort of like meta about the jokes that it has and everything, and the way that it's like teaching you any of the skills or whatever. So it feels very like fun to be learning the system that they have in place, because it doesn't take itself too seriously, clearly, and the visuals would even like show you that as you look at it, because it's got sort of like a cartoonish sort of look to it, but one that's like the over the top kind of like bloody explosions and things like that as you go through, which is why it's like Rungore. Like literally it's in the name. But you are, as you're going through, like, let's say you fight an enemy. After you beat that enemy, you'll get a choice between like, 3 or 4 different cards or whatever. And you'll get to choose, or you'll get 4 different cards initially. You'll get to choose 3 of them, and those will then come into your deck. And then you have to decide as you go to the next enemy, is like, am I going to use all of these cards, or am I going to like just let my auto attack like do most of the work, because I don't want to waste these cards. I want to have them for later or for the boss or whatever. So that's why if you see any screenshots of it, you'll see sometimes you'll have like a few cards in your hand. Sometimes you'll have like a handful of cards, because you're sort of consciously keeping those for the end of the run, because you don't want to end up at the boss with like no cards. You know what I mean? But you also, if you're going to die at one of the other enemies pre-boss because you're not using your cards, then that's a different problem. So it's like you have to sort of decide. It's a risk reward system in a way. And with the knight character, he's kind of forgiving, because like after every fight, he heals a certain amount. So it's easier to say like, okay, I'm not going to use any cards on this fight, because my auto attack can take care of him, and I'll heal up any damage they do to me before the next fight. So I'll be okay to just hold on to these cards for now. So that's where it starts to really get sort of, even as like crazy as it looks, it starts to, there is strategy to it, but it's not so over the top that it feels like, okay, I need to really like metagame this. You're just kind of having fun as you're going through it, with like a light amount of like tactics thrown in. And then the person who's teaching you stuff is basically like a Clippy sort of like alternative. I don't know what he is. I can't remember. He looks like kind of a clipboard, but he is sort of like the same sort of deal. It's just like this goofy looking anthropomorphic item that's teaching how to do stuff.
I love that. I feel like every game needs some sort of Clippy.
They really do. That would make tutorials a lot more bearable.
You know, even Ocarina of Time, we had Navi.
Yeah, so exactly.
She was our Clippy.
So it looks like he is one of those little like those black clips that has like a note in it, and that's what's teaching you stuff. Yeah. So
that's great.
I just really enjoyed my time with this game. So far, I've beaten a few levels of it. I unlocked this other character who is like I think his name is literally like hungry dude or hungry guy or something. And his thing is like he attacks faster the more health he has. So his whole deal is way different than the knight's, because in this one, like his cards more revolve around healing him or giving him more max HP so that he can be attacking faster. But he's also not healing between runs. So you have to be really mindful of or healing between battles. So you have to be mindful of your health, because that is your bread and butter of like how you're actually attacking. So that is just like, it's cool because like that's only the second character I've unlocked, but it shows just the variety of gameplay styles that are at play here, because my approach with him is much different than my approach was with the knight guy. So and it looks like there are at least like 4 or 5 additional characters. I mean, maybe even more. I don't have the like screen in front of me, but even with just those 2, I can see so much variety in the builds you can do. So I'm curious to see like what the full run through of the game actually looks like.
It seems really fun, and I like the artwork and everything for it. Like the design of it's great. I'm gonna be trying this one out for sure.
So this one came out in May of 2024, so it's a little over a year old now, but it was one I just hadn't picked up or even known about, but I'm glad that I do now. Okay, so there are 13 playable heroes, so that's awesome. Even way more than I thought.
That's way more. So much more. I figured maybe 3. That's way more than I thought there'd be. That's a way bigger game than I expected. Speaking of lots of characters, though, we've both been playing Soulstone Survivors some more. I'm just trying to get achievements. So I'm just trying to get, prestige levels with every character. Just going through it. So that's where I'm at.
Did you unlock like the secondary trees, like the skill trees yet?
No, I'm not there yet. I'm really close. I've only got like a couple things to do before it unlocks.
Dude, like I want to tell you, like if you thought that we saw like a lot of what this game had to offer, the secondary skill trees open up even more. For instance, like,
oh my God.
Like one of the characters, gosh, which one was it? I think the Necromancer. So once you unlock the Necromancer, like they have their basic stuff and their skeletal summons and whatnot. But then like once you unlock the secondary skill tree, that's where it's like, okay, now I have an ability that, not an ability, but like a base ability that's just part of my character now, is I'm collecting body parts that drop from enemies. And then once I have a certain amount collected, I will summon an abomination, which is this like giant like creature that is on your side and helping you out. And you can summon a certain amount of those. Cool. And then your bigger skill tree turns into a lot of it is like get body parts faster, like summon like a, abomination that has more attack power, things like that. So it's like more layers on top of an already layered experience that is just like really exciting. And all the characters have some kind of unique thing going on. Like the Death Knight, for example, his thing is like, I collect a certain amount of things and then I summon like 2 or 3 other horsemen or something to come and assist me, almost like the 4 horsemen of apocalypse situation. And it's just like all these cool like additions to an already layered game that is really exciting. I had my friend, one of my other friends over, and I turned him onto this game. So I was like, hey, let's play this. Let me just show you this game. If you like Vampire Survivors, you might like this one. And then he got so hooked on it that he ended up buying it. So I'm just spreading the word slowly but surely.
The gospel of Soulstone Survivors.
So good.
Yes, I love that. You've also played some more Become the Moon.
I have, yeah. That they actually patched recently to make it like a little bit more fair, maybe, or more forgiving. I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe more balanced. It's still pretty tough, but you know, it definitely feels like some of the kinks were worked out of it. But it's still like, if you're able to beat a whole run, that's still sort of an achievement. So I've now beaten it a few times, and I beat it with one of the additional items you get that gives you a debuff. So I beaten it with that. And so that is now placed into the whole thing. That's like the big question mark of like, what's this going to unlock? But I have to beat it with like 5 of those debuffs on. And so it's like, I don't know if I can like get that far. Like it was hard enough getting to this spot. Like I like the way the game looks, obviously. I like the repetition of it generally. Like the gameplay loop is satisfying, but I feel like there's just something that's sort of like keeping me from optimizing my experience with it because of I don't know if it's like the balance of the cards, or just like the RNG is just still so unforgiving. And maybe I just need to get good. I'm not sure, but like there's something about it that is just, I'm a little detached from it, even as much as I keep going back to it, because I love the aesthetic of it.
You got to just get good, man. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's always a problem, honestly. No game's bad. Yeah. You're just bad.
Yeah, that's exactly. There are no bad games, just bad players.
Yep.
Here's a one that was sent to us from the developer that I played, which is Bonds of the Zodiac, sent to us by Alex X. So this is a solo dev, and he made a first-person narrative adventure focused on Rei, a young woman connected with trapped Zodiac spirits in a mystical Japanese-inspired realm, unraveling emotional and mythological threads. So like you basically, you what I like about this is you get introduced to a lot of like mythology and stuff, and especially around kind of like Zodiacs and stuff. And like, I guess I don't know that much about that side of like mythology and stuff to know if this is like stuff that was made for the game or if this is like the actual mythology of things, but it was very fascinating. And I enjoyed that part of it. However, I would say though, the direction in this, so this is like a walking sim. The direction feels pretty bare bones, at least in the demo that I got to play. So there's like definitely times I wasn't sure what direction I needed to like walk in to get where I needed to go. But like, even while I was wandering around, I loved the atmosphere and the music. Like it is gorgeous to look at as far as like the design of everything. The colors are so vibrant. And like, I think I just sort of wanted to wander around rather than follow the story at first, since I wasn't sure where I was supposed to go. And I just want to wander through the city and the countryside and stuff. It like, I felt like I was walking through like I don't know, like an anime film, like Your Name or something like that, was with how vibrant the colors and everything were. But I wish Alex X the best on his solo dev journey. It's a really interesting premise. Love the story and everything. I felt enlightened as I played it. So there we go.
Final round.
Let's talk about some upcoming indie games we're excited about. I've only got one this week. This is The Drifter, which is a dark pulp style point and click game where you're playing a drifter who gets murdered, then wakes up again just before he's supposed to be killed and has to untangle a big conspiracy to understand what's happening around him. This is supposed to be a very John Carpenter kind of inspired story, like very Urban Decay style with like some horror elements to it, some sci-fi elements to it. The pixel art is amazing looking. It's developed by Powerhoof, which is the same developer as Crawl, which was a fantastic game.
I do remember Crawl.
That also had amazing pixel art. So I feel like the amazing art they had in Crawl, like they absolutely upped their game in this one because it looks fantastic. So I've been looking forward to this one for a while. It's finally about to come out, so I can't wait. This is a day one.
The one that I wanted to like bring to attention is Tiny Pixels Volume 2 Stormy Nights, which I never played Tiny Pixels Volume 1, so I was curious that that even existed. And it does, but it's a completely different game. So this is like I guess the Tiny Pixel series in general is trying to be like a retro or classic game inspired sort of pixel renditions in like more modern times, but like it still looks like it is still like an old school, like side-scrolling pixelated game, Super Nintendo era sort of deal. This one I like because it's just it's a roguelike, but you're a knight who is just like walking across, a side-scrolling sort of adventure, and you have your block, you have your dodge, you have your attack, and you're just kind of like going through saving princesses. So it seems like a simple idea of someone just trying to like test out like game making almost, because Tiny Pixels Volume 1 was a shmup, just a straight like spaceship shmup. And so like this one's a different style of game entirely. So it's almost just like they are trying to improve their, just gameplay creation in general by going through different genres. And this one just looks like kind of basic and entertaining to where I would probably enjoy like the loop of it, even if it is just like going through random castles, saving princesses, et cetera, it still looks like a fun sort of thing to jump into. So this one comes out July 9th, and I'll check it out possibly. I hope it has a demo too, because I would love to try it out. But even then, it'll probably be like pretty cheap. So yeah, I don't know. One that I have my eye on at least.
Yeah, I like the look of it. And I'm looking at the first Tiny Pixels game, and like it looks good too. Like it barely has any reviews, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's less than $3 right now.
Like,
it has 4 reviews.
Yeah.
That's why I had just never heard of it, but like Tiny Pixels 2 brought my attention to 1. So I don't know if they're both like just $5 experiences. They look like solid $5 experiences at the very least. So I may pick them both up in like a bundle when that other one comes out, just to go through them all and support the developer.
Heck yeah, this deserves some attention. So folks, go check this out. It looks really
Tiny
good.
Tiny Pixels Volume 1 is Ninpo Blast, and Tiny Pixels 2 Stormy Nights. So kind of basic concepts, but you're not paying a lot for these experiences. It seemed like they, gameplay wise at least, look pretty solid.
Game over.
Hey, if you had a good time listening to this episode, stick around for the bumper to learn how you can help support the show and all the things we do here at Sloth Creative. You can also check out the show notes for our link tree that'll take you to our social media, Discord, subreddit, merch store, all the cool stuff. But get in touch with us, let us know what indie games you're playing, and help us elevate these games so we can help support these indie game devs. That's game over for us. My name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode.
Continue.
Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth for indie game let's plays and recommendations. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/nerdsloth, where you can select a pledge and receive access to hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything at Sloth Creative. If you're an indie game developer and would like us to review your game or explore other opportunities, send an email to nerdslothcreative@gmail.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade. Thanks for listening, and keep supporting indie game devs.